Welcome to the Amanda Hall mini workshop series here live on Facebook on a Wednesday morning here on the Gold Coast. It's very early here. It's only 7:30 a.m. on this beautiful, amazing day on the Gold Coast. I hope you're having an absolutely awesome day and an awesome week wherever you are in this world of ours. For those of you that this is your very first time in joining us, welcome. We've been doing these little workshops now. This is workshop number 59. So what I endeavour to do here each week is we talk about either where the moon is astrologically at the moment, or we talk about where the sun is. And on those weeks that we don't have the moon or the sun to talk about, we actually look at another area of psychic phenomena or things that we can do to improve our lives. So for those of you that don't know me, my name's Amanda Hall Psychic. I've been in the psychic industry here in Australia for well over 40 years now. I've been coveted with many industry awards here in Australia, including the Hall of Fame. I've been voted for about the 6th year in a row as Australian Psychic of the Year, and I'd like to thank everybody that voted for me for that, because that is a People's Choice Award. It's not something given to me by the industry, it's by the public. So I thank you very humbly again for that honour being bestowed on me this year. So what we aim to do here is to educate and help you improve your life. This is not a show where I give away complimentary or free readings. If you want that opportunity, can I suggest that you tune in half an hour before this on A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV on Facebook, and you will see I do a live show out of Grenville in the USA in South Carolina just prior to that show, and that's where we have a different format. I do a couple of complimentary readings on that show. We have a Simply Tarot card of the week. We talk about a trip around the universe as far as a glimpse in the universe of what's happening astrologically. We have a little mini astrology lesson, and as I said, we do two free readings on that show. So this is just sort of like an extension of that show where I talk about the candle of the week or the candles of the week that we featured on the show on A1R Psychic Radio on the Amanda Hall Psychic Show. And we go into a lot more detail here of how to work with that and what's actually sort of happening astrologically. So for those of you, again, that are brand new, welcome. I also need to clear up a couple of other T's and C's with you. I do not give shout outs during the presentation. I like to try and stay on point and keep focused about what we're talking about. It's not that I'm ignoring you by not sort of shouting out the names that are flashing up on the screen. If I do that, I will lose my train of thought. And I'd rather you sort of just leave me a little message and say, hi, what the weather's like in your location, or you're having a great day or whatever. And I do promise I will personally respond to you in the next couple of days. I like to do it that way because I feel it's a nice way of me being able to connect with you and giving you sort of a little bit of input into the workshop as well. I will not answer questions that do not relate to the topic at hand. If you have a question about today's workshop, something that I've spoken about during this presentation that you need more clarification on, please, by all means, leave a little message there on the wall and I will get back to you. I won't do it privately. It will be that everybody can see the message and the question that I've answered for you, but I will not under any circumstances answer your love life or a reading or anything like that. It has to be about the workshop that we're doing today, which is the Sun in Aries. So let's get down to business. The Sun in Aries. So what does the sun in a sign mean? The sun is the planet that's where our ego and our drive comes from. We all talk about sun signs. We all talk about my astrology signs this or my zodiac signs that. Well, that's meaning where the sun is in your chart at your birth. Now, at the moment, the sun is in the very, very first sign of Aries. So what that means is the astrological new year has just commenced. From the 22nd of February, we went to the sun in Aries. Now, that it's approximate when I say the 22nd of a month through to the 21st is approximately when the sun will stay in a sign, and we have 12 signs in the zodiac and we follow the wheel around throughout the year. But it can go into that sign as early as the 16th of the month or as late as the 26th. It's very rare that it goes in on the 16th, but it has been known to happen. And this is why people talk about they think they're on the cusp. because, you know, one sort of astrology they read might say, you know, from the 22nd, someone else might read a chart that says from the 24th, someone else will read it from the 18th, and they get very confused. Now, this day and age, you should be able to Google something and get it free of charge that, you know, on that day and that year where the sun was and which particular sign you're in. If I can explain a cusp line to you like this, if you imagine you buy a pie and I ask you to cut it into 12 pieces, when you cut through the pie, you're actually making a direct cut, or you're cutting it into a section. Well, that's exactly what a cusp is in astrology. If you can imagine the astrology wheel being like a pie and we cut it up into 12 pieces, each one of those cuts or those lines is called a cusp. And this is why people think that I'm born on the cusp. There is no such thing as being born on the cusp. You are either one sign or the other. So as I said, this day and age, you can usually Google it and find out for that particular year, the sun went into your sign on such and such a date. If not, you can contact astrologers, and probably for a very small fee, they'd be able to tell you that. It's something that we all need to know, that, you know, if you think you're on the cusp or you're one sign or the other, you're either an Aries or you're a Taurus, or you're either an Aries or a Pisces. You're not both. And it does not mean that you have a flavor of both because you're very close to when the sun changed signs. I hear people talk about that all the time. Makes me quite cross, because there is no such thing. You know, you are one sign or the other. You don't have a blend of two because you're close to the sun changing directions. And, you know, you might have a lot of that energy of that other sign, but that is relating to the other 9 planets and luminaries that make up your chart, means that you may have other planets or luminaries in that sister sign that then might even be, say, 3 planets or luminaries in that sister sign, which gives you a stronger flavor or feel for that sign. And that's why you lean towards being, oh, maybe I'm more a Pisces than I am an Aries, for argument's sake. And really your sun sign is in Aries, but you've got 3 planets in Pisces. So the 3 planets in Pisces, of course, are going to feel stronger than the sun in Aries. So I hope that's clarified that. So going back to the sun in Aries, well, the sun, as I said, is the first sign of the zodiac. It's a fire sign. It's a sign of activity. It's a sign of me first, and did I tell you about me first? So a lot of times when you meet an Aries person, you think, oh my goodness, they're self-centered. Can only focus on themselves. Well, that's true. But once they've dealt with focusing on how it affects them, then they are able to put themselves into the opposite and say, how will this affect you? Because their opposite sign is Libra. So when we meet Aries people, they're usually dynamic, outspoken, always on the go, find it difficult to sit still. They're always coming up with brilliant ideas. They're always trying to motivate us to get up off the couch and do this and do that. And why haven't you done this and that and the other? Because they are known as the pioneers of the zodiac, and their role is to motivate people. They're not meant to be there to see you get the thing off the ground and complete it. They're there to get you up off the couch, to give you some ideas, give you a swift kick up the pants and say, come on, you can do this. And then that's their job complete. So how would us mere mortals who aren't Aries work with the energy when the sun goes into Aries? Now, it does not matter what your star sign is. We can all work with the Aries energy. Now, whether you're another fellow fire sign, or whether you're an earth sign or a water sign or an air sign, you can still work with the Aries energy. So what I want you to sit down and think about is there 3 new things that you would like to bring into your life, or 3 new things that you might like to commence or start in your life. Now, these don't always have to be business related. People sort of automatically think of, oh, 3 new things. I've got to think of 3 things how I can make money. Well, not everything revolves around money. It may be 3 things in your life that you've been sitting on the fence about. And this year so far for me, and with the people that I've been working with around the world, the theme has been about people wanting to get well. It's such a lovely relief to see people not talking about, oh, I'm trying to lose weight, or I'm trying to diet, or I'm trying to do this, you know, because that's the latest fad. The latest fad seems to be, I want to get well. I want to feel well. I want to look after my body in a way that I can get the maximum out of it. Now, I think that's a nice shift. That, you know, if people are starting to look at how can I feel better, than instead of focusing on I'm not the right size by the glossy magazine or how everybody expects I should be, but I'm happy to be me, but what I want to do is to be the best me I can be. So by doing that, that could be one of the things that you write down on your list. For other people, it might be, I want to learn to get a voice. I want to learn how to be able to say no instead of always feeling that I've got to do everything that someone ever asks me to do. And that's a big one, because if you've always been a giving person, the ability to be able to say no can be very difficult at times. It's sort of like, I feel guilty. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. You know, they really do need my help. But again, if we don't come back to me first, or putting ourselves first at some stage or another in our lives, then our lives go out of balance. So this is a really good time to be able to practice the word no, and maybe that could be something that you're going to put on your list. Other people might be looking to make massive advances in their life. Some people might be looking for a new job or a new relationship or a new house or a new direction in their life. It doesn't matter what it is. It's got to be something that's fresh, it's new, it's something that you want to send out to the universe to help you achieve. So we write a list. I always like to work with a score of 3 things on my list minimum. I don't know why 3 things, but I've always worked on the law of 3. And no, I'm not into Wicca, and I don't do things saying that things come in, well, things do come in 3s a lot of times. You know, quite often when you hear the passing of somebody, even if it's a famous person, you think, oh, that's number 1. And then there's usually another 2 in quick succession after it. And I can remember one of my grandmothers used to always tell me that deaths came in 3s and so did births. And she always believed if there was a news of a death, there would be news of a baby, that, you know, one departed and one coming. I think that's probably quite true. And I sort of, you know, I've often thought that throughout my life, but I don't necessarily live by that. I sort of, oh, well, yes, you know, there's one, and you sort of just get on with life. But, you know, it does come in runs like that. But I think it's also the time when we can be sort of looking at bringing new things into our life, things that mean something to us. And as I said, I like to work with 3. So if I'm looking at attracting 3 new things into my life or wanting to commence 3 new things in my life, I also try and look at, is there 3 things that I can be letting go of, or 3 things that I can say, well, that's now completed, that's finished, I can release that at the same time. Because I always look at it as being a cupboard full of clothes. If you don't take 3 things out of the wardrobe or the closet, you can't add 3 new things to it if it's full. And if your life's like that and you keep hold of everything and you can't let go of anything, how can you expect to attract new things to your life? So I'd like you to take your time with this one and try and work out, you know, you might have 10 things that you want to put down your list that you're trying to get off the ground. You know, as I said, for some people it might be changes in their business, or it might be a new business, or it could be lots of things. And it's sort of a time to sort of allow those things to come towards you. So we've written 3 things down on our list, 3 things maybe we're going to release and let go of and say that's completed. So then I want you to sort of read it out aloud to the universe. And then I want you to light your candle and popping it underneath the candle on a coaster, and putting the coaster on the furniture, never directly putting your candle on the furniture, because remember, the glass container can get hot and we don't want to scorch the furniture. So with these extra large candles, they have 2 wicks. I like 1 wick one day and 1 wick the next day. It just gives you a longer burn time. You will get up to about 100 hours out of these, depending on how you look after your candle. If you leave it under a fan or under a draft, well, it's going to burn quicker. And also if you don't keep the wicks trimmed, that also contributes to it. So we burn the candle for approximately 15 minutes to 2 hours per day. And this is something I don't think I've mentioned before. A lot of people sort of have a habit of lighting a candle, leaving it unattended, which I think is incredibly dangerous, because after all, it is fire after all. But also the fact that it is recommended that we should not burn our candles for more than 2 hours. And I feel that probably comes to the point of the glass container getting hot. We could have a drop in temperature, it could crack, you know, or it can just get too hot. So if you can remember, maximum 2 hours of burning your candles. I think most people, you know, when they're working with their intent, purpose and direction, only like to work with 15 minutes, because that's all the time that they can spare to sit there and babysit the candle, and that is adequate. So 7 days minimum. This is something that you can work with the whole of the Aries time if you wish, or you can just do it on a 7-day cycle. So for those of you that don't have an area that you can work with a big extra large candle and you want to work with a smaller candle, can I suggest our travel kit? This one this week I made up of the 3 fire sign candles. They're 3 identical candles, so that gives you the scope of taking these with you when you're traveling or in a smaller space or taking them to work. It's a beautiful fragrance, that one. It's champagne and strawberries. But I also want to share with you, I know I talk about it often, that there's 28 candles in the range and you can choose any of the 28 to make up a gift box. So what I've done this morning here is made up a box that you can see where we've got a tarot candle, a love candle in the middle, and a good luck candle. So you see, you can make up your box individually to suit yourself. Now, for those of you that don't wish to work with a candle but still want to work with the energy, can I suggest you pick up a melt warmer from the local supermarket or department store, around about $15 here in Australia. These are electric. Same principle applies. Write it out on your list, what the 3 things you're attracting, 3 things you're releasing. Pop it underneath the melt warmer on a coaster. You can leave these going all day. So when you commence working with your melt warmer, 2 teaspoons of wax on the first day and then half a teaspoon each day thereafter. It's a safer alternative than working with candles. It's something that sends a lovely fragrance throughout the house. And when you've constantly got that fragrance going with what you're working with, it's on a subliminal level that I think that it intensifies your intent, purpose, and direction. So that may be something else that you might want to look at. I've had a number of people say to me, oh, but, you know, why do you have to buy it in a candle form, Amanda? Why don't you do it in other things? We did years ago, used to do little melt pot things, blocks for you to put in the melt warmer. Look, I really found that they were too expensive. And, you know, by the time you took the little cube out, the cube was a little bit too much in the wax to use one day. And then, you know, fiddling around with that, it just seemed to be, they weren't cost effective. And that's why we went back to just producing candles only. For that reason, I'm always conscious of people and their money. And also, I think we don't need to be adding extra resources and waste to the universe if we can help it. And because they were put into little plastic containers, and we all know plastic is not good, at least in a glass container, it can be used to be recycled. And that's really important. We have to be considerate and think about our planet as well. All our candles are made from lead-free wicks, so that's really important too, because, as I said, I'm very conscious of the environment. Now, and one of the other questions that I get quite often asked about candles is, are they aromatherapy oils? Are they natural oils? Well, no, they are not, because aromatherapy and natural oils, 1, are very expensive, but 2, also have a much higher burn rate and can quite often explode when used in a candle. These are as natural as possible, the fragrances that we do use that are particularly designed for the fragrances to be put into candles. They are a candle scent. So anyone that tells you that they're using natural aromatherapy oils, I'd be very hesitant, because that could be an explosion and a fire waiting to happen. So I hope that's cleared that up. So let's go back to the Aries energy. So the Aries energy, again, is about motivation. It's about a time to sort of get enthusiastic, to get motivated, to get up off the couch, to do something really positive and dynamic with your life. You also must understand it's a time when people might seem a little bit preoccupied, because if they're in mode where they're sort of getting motivated and they're getting up off the couch and their mind's very focused and they're full steam ahead at what they want to bring into their life and what they want to change and whatever, they may not be necessarily listening to a conversation that you're having with them, and they may seem a little bit abrupt or a little bit aloof or snappy or snarly, and you think, oh, you know, why did they speak to me like that? It's not that they mean to speak to you like that, it's just that they're very focused on where they're going in their lives and what they're hoping to achieve, that it was sort of, in a sense, a disruption to them, even though they don't want you to think that you were disturbing them. But that's how it sort of is. It's like, yeah, okay, well, I'm focusing on this. So look at it then that people might be very focused at the moment, and that might be why they seem a little bit not as open and as warm as what they normally would be. And sometimes that's the downside of a fire sign, you know, transit, or, you know, the sun being in a fire sign, that sometimes they can seem to be a little bit snappy, snarly. So for most of us, you know, we're sort of all heading towards next week, the Easter break and things like that. And, you know, for some people, it's an exciting time of the year. And for other people, it's like, oh, dear, we've got to get together with the family again. And, you know, brace yourselves, World War III's around the corner when all the family get together. Yes, and that's very true. And I think it's something that we also need to be aware of as Easter falls in the midst of the sun in Aries this year, that we all have to be careful of being a little bit more patient, a little bit more understanding that tempers might be a little bit frayed, or people are very much into the me first, looking at me, what do I need in my life, and not really considering what they're saying or how you might be feeling or the things that might have gone on in your life since you last got together for the family get together. So just be a little bit more patient and a little bit more aware of that as we head into the Aries, you know, time of the year, and particularly with Easter next week, that we're more conscious and we're more aware of that. So I hope you've enjoyed what we've been talking about this morning with the sun in Aries. Next week, we're going to be working with the second full moon this month in Libra. Now, this is a very unusual situation. Do we have the full moon for the second time in the same sign? It's not something that happens very often. No, it is not a blue moon. A blue moon is the second full moon in a calendar month. This is just the second time it will be in this energy. So it's not technically a blue moon. It's just, you know, we've got the full moon in Libra twice in a row where normally it would change signs. So just look at it in that sort of way. It's a, you know, once in a blue moon type of opportunity, but it's not a blue moon. It's something that I think is probably going to dampen down a few things, which is probably not a bad thing because people will calm down slightly. So that's probably a good thing, which will be happening over the Easter weekend. So even though we've got still the Aries energy and we've still got a plethora of planets sort of, you know, all holding hands together in Pisces, with the full moon in Libra, it will just sort of bring a little bit more balance and harmony to the situation. So until next week, be kind to each other. If you want a personal reading with me, please head to my website, www.amandahallpsychic.com.au. When you're at the checkout, don't forget to type in the word Facebook in capital letters, and you will receive a discount there on a reading or any of your purchases. If you want to join our newsletter, when you go to the website, you'll see a little thing flash up on the screen. By all means, put your name and your email address there. We will give you a complimentary astrology chart that can be emailed to you anywhere in the world. You're under no obligation to buy anything or even just stay part of our newsletter family. So I hope you have an absolutely awesome week. I will see you all again in 7 days. Until then, keep smiling.